All right, let's try that. Hey, everybody, welcome. This is Carl. Welcome to Carl's Opinion. And we got the volume back on here. Hey, and I'm glad you're doing well, Ms. Shonda's Graphics. See some good people out there in the chat. She's Shonda's, Vince, DA, our Rye Girl, Rye, and Common Sense with Elizabeth, and some other people up there. Sorry. Oh, Arena Linsky. Hey, Arena. I missed you there. I was getting busy, and getting ready over here. Getting busy. I was getting busy. You know it. Hey, getting busy. Hey, you know how it is. But anyway, so let's see who else. I saw some people up on top there, and I can't remember who it was. I can't go that far back. But anyway, hey, welcome aboard. And yeah, I recorded the Trump rally, some of the highlights, and I recorded the whole thing. Near the end, it got to the point where it was, pretty much, we've heard it before. So we're not going to play the whole thing. We'll play parts of it, and we'll cut in and discuss it. Excuse me. If anybody wants to appear on a video call, I just put in the chat, hey, I want to appear on a video call, and shoot me an email to ca2jogger@gmail.com, right up there on top, and I'll reply to your email with a link. You hit said link, you come on in, I take care of the rest over here. Really cool. Video call, I mean, you can do phone call as well. That's open as well. I'm going to cover a little bit of the Trump rally before we go to the phone calls. But yeah, but if you want to do a video call and appear side by side, and then you can be watching the Trump rally. There won't be a delay like there is like watching on YouTube. You'll be watching it right with me at the same time. We can comment on it. But anyway, let's go ahead and get to the Trump rally, and we'll go ahead and play that right now. But yeah, this place, this crowd was on fire. New Mexico, voted Democrat in the last election, and but I mean, he's got that crowd on fire. I mean, you'll see it. I mean, it was something. The place was packed. But anyway, so without further ado, President Trump at the Trump rally. Here we go. Let's see. Here we go.
Wow, thank you, New Mexico, thank you. We love being with you. We love being with you. Incredible people. Incredible people, thank you very much. And I'm thrilled to be here in Albuquerque with thousands of hardworking, freedom-loving American patriots. Thank you. Incredible.
And you can just see the crowd size. The crowd size was packed. It was loud. I mean, these people were just loud. I mean, they were just so happy to see him because they know they're in a blue state, and so they're not sure if the president can be out there campaigning a lot in New Mexico. But so for him to show up there, they were just really, really happy, and they're really happy that they got to have the president there in their hometown. So it's really cool. I mean, I went to the two rallies in Las Vegas, and I mean, we were enthusiastic, but these people here, I mean, there were a lot of us who were enthusiastic, but it wasn't like the entire freaking place was this crazy. This is really wonderful. I mean, really great if we can turn this blue state red. I mean, that would be so awesome for the Electoral College map. But all right, let's go and continue on with President Trump and the crowd in New Mexico tonight, September 16th, 2019.
We're all united by the same love of our great country. And by the way, our country is doing great. You see it. The same devotion to family and the same profound faith that America is blessed by the eternal grace of Almighty God. night to that person. Tomorrow they'll say massive protest. Now, one person just going home to mommy a little bit sooner. Good night.
Yeah, I like how he put that guy down, like an SJW, going home to mommy. He should have said going home to mommy to go back to his basement. That's what he should have said. But he's great at that. He's great at working the room. The crowd is totally responding to him. Got a lot of signs back there, Latinos for Trump. You'll see when he goes through the numbers report here in a few minutes. I mean, it's just again, I was so impressed with this rally in New Mexico. This was just awesome. But anyway, here we go.
But we're bound by these convictions. We will campaign for every vote, and we will win the great state of New Mexico in 2020. And by the way, you have thousands and thousands of people outside who can't get in. So we love you. We love you. We appreciate it.
And that's actually true when he says there's thousands and thousands of people waiting outside. Even at the Las Vegas rally I went to back during the midterms, and I believe it was September, October of 2018. I went to one in 2016 for the campaign, and then when I went to the midterms in 2018, it was down at Las Vegas Convention Center, and we thought we got there super early. Well, we were wrong about that. But it was the middle of a work day, so I could only take so much time off. But we still thought we were there in plenty of time. And wow, when we got there, the lines was crazy serious, long ass, deep. And but we left early to beat traffic. Again, it was the middle of the work week, and I had to be in court the next morning, so we left early to beat the traffic. And when I went outside, there were literally probably 3,000-4,000 people outside as well. And this is Las Vegas. That's a very blue county. And still about 3,000-4,000 people outside watching the big Jumbotron. So when he says there's thousands of people outside, no shit. Even in Las Vegas, there's thousands. And I know in other jurisdictions, other cities, where you have a lot of more Republicans, more Republican generated numbers and stuff. The crowd's even larger outside. But he's totally right. Even in Las Vegas, there were 3,000-4,000 people waiting outside who couldn't get in. There wasn't enough space to get them in, and we had a really big, huge convention area room for our event. But anyway, so he's totally telling the truth about that one. The media never reports that though.
We try to get the biggest arena we can get, and they're never big enough, frankly. So there's something going on. I always say 2016, I don't know if there'll ever be another 2016, but right now it's like a great tree or a great plant. You plant it, and it has to take hold. We have to win 2020. We're doing so well. We have to win 2020. And every day, and you know as well as I do, we're battling against the corrupt establishment of the past, and we're achieving historic victories for the American people. We're winning again, and we're winning big. We're winning big. Crucially for your state, we have ended the last administration's war on American energy. And since my election, natural gas production, big story today, in New Mexico has increased by 40%. 40. And that means great wages, and it means jobs, and that's why you're breaking every single record in your state's book. Crude oil production in Mexico has more than doubled and going up a lot higher very quickly. And your state's energy revenues are up by nearly 2/3. Think of that, 2/3. And that's in a short period of time. Give me a little bit more time, okay? United States is now the #1 producer of oil and natural gas anywhere in the world. And this means more jobs, higher wages, and American energy independence, which is what we have. You know, a few years ago, if we had a problem like you saw 2 days ago in the Middle East, we would have been in a panic. Although not if I were your president. We never panic. We don't want to panic. But a few years ago, they would have been in a panic. Today, we got a lot of oil. We got a lot of gas. A lot of oil and gas. We don't have to send too many boats over there. You notice the other day they were saying, we don't see too many American ships anymore. You know why? Because we're independent as we want, and we are now a net exporter of energy. Revenues from energy production provide up to 25% of your state's budget and going much higher in the very near future. And they've generated nearly $1 billion budget surplus in New Mexico. Thank you very much, President Trump. Thank you. Now, under the Green New Deal, that all goes away. That all goes away. It all goes away. You can forget it. No more cows, no more airplanes, no more trips. A single car, make it electric, single car. You're not allowed to travel more than 162 miles. They'll call us the Hermit Nation. We'll never leave our house.
And I like what he did here in the beginning, how he's talking about New Mexico energy up 40%, energy output production. I mean, that's an awesome number. I mean, the number of jobs that get associated with that. I had a friend of mine actually who was living here in Nevada, living here in Pahrump, Nevada, actually, and he's in New Mexico now making a fortune, working in production facilities out there. So, I mean, you know, those numbers are great. You know, that's the best chance we got to turn the state red because, you know, people are working and people are making money. And those are good. Those are really good paying jobs down there. And then you have all the tertiary industries that, you know, support the people who work in those facilities. You know, you got your grocery stores, you got your service industry jobs. People can come in to work in those kind of jobs that in the areas where depressed, where people don't have a lot of skills or anything that can't work in the oil industry or oil natural gas industry. Then they can always work in those service industry jobs instead of, you know, sitting around and, you know, collecting unemployment or collecting welfare. And, you know, most people don't want to be on welfare. They really don't. It's humiliating. And so it gives them a chance to go out and get a real job, even if you don't have skills. When all these, you know, oil and gas jobs, you know, are out there and the people are making the $30 an hour and et cetera, you know, working on the line and everything, and then all the other service jobs have fallen below that, you know, where they're paying 10, 12, $15 an hour. That gives people a lot of reason to be happy. And you see the crowd there. I mean, there's a lot of very happy people there. Their economy is gangbusters right now in New Mexico. You can bring up some additional facts here in a second, talking about small business growth in New Mexico. 30% increase, best in the nation. 30% increase. I mean, that's crazy. 30% increase in small businesses, which again goes back to those are kind of like tertiary businesses surrounding the like oil and gas fields. Like, you know, people opening small businesses, you know, servicing the people who are making good money. The people who have real disposable income they can spend. You know, which is excellent. So I mean, it sounds like, you know, their economy's doing really good. Things are going really well. People in New Mexico understand illegal immigration better than anybody. I mean, they're on the front line in New Mexico, probably even maybe more so than Texas with the you know, amount of, even with they have a shorter border, but I think the numbers that come through New Mexico far exceed the numbers that come through Texas. So, you know, this is really looking good. So anyway, let's going to continue with the president. Yay, President Trump. Yay.
No, it's crazy, but that's okay. I don't want to bring it up because I don't want to do it too early. Maybe they'll change. I don't want them to change. But think of it for you and for Texas and for so many other places. They want to get rid of your energy. I mean, explain that one. Explain that. Yet every major Democrat running for president, they want to abolish all production of oil and natural gas. In other words, the Democrats want to completely annihilate New Mexico's economy. The Democrats want us to be subservient to foreign producers. They want us to be at the mercy of rogue regimes. That's not happening anymore. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. It's not happening anymore. But Democrats will never get the chance because New Mexico will never give them that chance. Under this administration, America is working again. America is winning again. And America is respected again, like it hasn't been for a long time. And I can tell you because I meet so many of the leaders and their presidents and their kings and their queens and their prime ministers and their everything, dictators every once in a while. Every once in a while you get a rogue dictator. And I'll tell you, they always start off. Today I had the Crown Prince of Bahrain. And they come in and they say, "Sir, I'd like to congratulate you on what you've done with the economy of the United States. It's a model for the entire world." They all say it. And earlier today, do we have any baseball fans, right? Right? You know what I'm going to say. But earlier today in the White House, I had the honor of awarding the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's the highest civilian award to someone who truly embodies the American dream. Baseball legend, the greatest, by the way, the greatest relief pitcher of all time. You look at those records. Mariano Rivera. He was something. The Yankees won a lot of World Series because of Mariano. Great guy. We gave him the medal, done so much for charity. A fantastic man, fantastic family. It was a beautiful day at the White House, so it was good. My administration is fighting to empower all Americans to reach their dreams and achieve their potential. We have created 6 million new jobs since Election Day. The fake news would never have allowed us to say that during the campaign, even as a projection. Unemployment recently reached its lowest rate in over 50 years. More than 7 million Americans have been lifted off of food stamps. Nearly 600,000 Americans came into the labor force last month alone. Think of that. Wages in your state, New Mexico, are growing at a rate of much more than 3% a year, which is unheard of. 20 years ago, and I used to say during the campaign, you go back, it's hard to believe I'm here almost 3 years. Can you believe how time is flying? Can you believe it?
And he brings up some great points there. 6 million new jobs since the election, and he should count it since the election, not just from when he got inaugurated. And I'll tell you why, because in 2015, the annual GDP growth rate was 2.2%. In 2016, it went down to 1.5%. Now, I'll tell you, as a small business owner, my November, December from 2015 were not good. Now, after he got elected, I mean, I'm just one guy. This is kind of anecdotal evidence. This is one guy, but my phones were, right after he got elected, like say within like 3 days after he got elected, the phone started ringing bang, bang, bang. It was probably one of the best November, Decembers ever had in my 25-year career. That's how good it was. You could feel everybody was very confident. Everybody was okay with spending money. They felt very good about the economy. You just felt it. You just felt the sense. You saw a lot more cars on the road, people going shopping, traffic, everything like that. Um, and it was just spectacular. And December is historically, kind of a slow month for my business. I'm an attorney because generally people it's Christmas time. People are are spending money on Christmas gifts and things like that. So it generally except for the criminal aspect of my business, which always stays steady no matter what month it is, what year it is. That always stays steady. Unfortunately, the criminal side, criminal defense side, but. But yeah, he's right about that. That November, December of 2016. I mean, and I talked to a lot of other small business owners that said the same thing. They couldn't believe it. It was like October was like one thing, and all of a sudden here, right after the election, it was literally like night and day. So 6 million new jobs, and he's talking about wage growth. Now that's really important. Wage growth over 3% in New Mexico. It's over 3% nationwide. That's a huge number. That's the first time we've seen wage growth numbers in the last, I think, 15 years. Actually, positive wage growth numbers that high. And the nice thing about it is that wage growth is not coming with inflation on top of it. So the nice thing about inflation not going up with wage growth going up and the unemployment numbers staying low, the Fed doesn't have any interest in raising interest rates. And then as far as all this bullshit talk you hear about the recession, the Fed, again, I brought this up the other night, the Fed Chairman Powell, he hates Trump. Trump said he was going to fire him, he was going to demote him. Doesn't like the guy at all. If he can come out and say, hey, Trump's hurting the economy with his positions in Mexico and with the EU, and especially with China, the tariffs, he's hurting the economy, he'd be the first one to say it. But he's out there saying, look, we're not seeing any indicators to indicate that there's a recession on the way. In fact, a lot of people want to drop the interest rate a half a point. I'd like to see that too, but he says we have no indicators to indicate the economy is doing bad. He goes, there's a little bit of slowing down in the global economy, and that's of course going to affect us because we're all intertwined on that. But we're not seeing enough where we have to go down half a point. They're thinking maybe they might drop it down a quarter point. In fact, they gamble on this in the stock market. Literally, they do. And so a lot of people are betting, I think a huge majority of the people in the know are betting that the Fed's going to drop it down a quarter point, which is fine. But he's saying, we're not seeing anything to show, I don't care what, he's almost like saying, I don't care what the mainstream media is saying. I really don't care. We're not seeing the numbers over here, and most of the other chairmen of the local Federal Reserve banks are saying the same thing. They're not seeing it either. And there's a couple that wanted to drop it down lower. I mean, drop the rates down lower just to jumpstart the economy. But the Fed's like, hey, we're going into Christmas. We're a 2/3 consumer-driven economy. People are going to be spending money, and so we're gonna get our natural growth anyway. We don't want to push it too high, because then inflation kicks in, and they have this odd, stupid number. This was a result of the Carter administration back in the late 70s when inflation was going through the roof, and no matter how much the Fed raised interest rates, they couldn't curtail inflation going up. And you had like 20, and so they raised the prime rate, I think, up to 19%. And right now it's, I think, at 2.75% prime rate interest rate. I mean, imagine if you can remember, anybody's that old as I am. I was just a little kid at the time, but back in the late 70s, it went up to like 19%, 20% prime rate, which was insane, and they still couldn't get inflation down, and it scared the hell out of them. So the Fed thought, history says the Fed jumped too late in trying to curtail inflation. So they set themselves like a benchmark at if inflation hits above 2% or at 2%, they raise interest rates. Now, personally, I think that number should be somewhere probably closer to say like, I would say like 4.25%, 4.5%, because the problem is when you raise interest rates, if inflation goes up 2%, well, inflation going up means there's more demand, not enough supply. So suppliers, manufacturers, whoever, vendors need to increase production. The way they have to increase production is to go out and borrow money to build new plants and whatever and hire new people. But if at the same time they're trying to do that to keep up with demand, and then you raise interest rates, and you're increasing the cost of money, and then which means you increase the cost of their goods and services they're selling, which even drives inflation higher. So I think they need to let the economy, if it's going to grow, let the economy grow a little bit. If inflation goes up to 4%, I mean, even if you say, okay, 4%, or 3.5%, 3.75, that's fine, but 2% really stagnates the economy too quick. But, they're so afraid of what happened to them in the late 70s, and a lot of them caught a lot of crap for it too. And some of those guys are old enough to remember that. And so once, what's that saying? Once bit, twice shy. So, that's how it goes there. But anyway, but the number is 6 million, wages going up, 600,000 people entered the job force last month alone. That's an incredible number. I've never heard a number like that before. That's insane. During President Obama's administration, 68% of the jobs he created were living wage jobs. I mean, that's just barely enough to have a crappy house, crappy car, not go out to dinner, not take the kids to the movies, just enough to basically have, clothes on your back, not new clothes, old clothes. Those are living wage jobs. These jobs are totally different that are being created under the Trump administration. And again, for the first time in our history, first time since 1973, we are a net energy exporter. In other words, we export more energy than we take in. So that's excellent. That's great news to the people in New Mexico. I think that's why they're so happy. But anyway, back to President Trump. Here we go.
I don't know about me, but you look all much better than you did 3 years ago. You're wealthier. And even with the Me Too movement, we can't say this, but I'll say it anyway, you're better looking. Including the men. Now you're all looking good. Since my election, the number of new business applications for New Mexico has increased by almost 30%, more than any state in the United States. Think of that. More than any state in the United States. So, essentially, that's saying you're in a certain category, which is a very important category. You're doing better than any state in the United States. How do I lose New Mexico? Explain that one, right? How do we lose that one? Now, and yet, for whatever reason, it's been quite a while since a Republican won this state, but we're going to win the state. I think we're going to win the state easy. You got to see the people all the way in from the airport. That was a long drive, by the way, 35 minutes. That was a long drive, but all the way in, we had people and they were waving, and I didn't see any negative hand gesture. Right? No, I think we're going to do great here. We're here for a number of reasons, but we're here because we really think we're going to turn this state and make it a Republican state. Yesterday marked the beginning of the Hispanic Heritage Month. Who's Hispanic here? Latinos for Trump. Thank you. Incredible people. But we have much to celebrate. Unbelievable when you think the unemployment for Hispanic Americans is right now at the lowest level ever recorded in the history of our country. Hispanic American poverty reached a brand new all-time low in history. And after years of stagnation that you know very well, wages for Hispanic Americans are rising really fast, up nearly 8% since my election. Those are unheard of numbers. They're unheard of. And median income, think of that, median income for Hispanic Americans surpassed $50,000 for the first time ever. That's your median. That's not bad. That means you're wealthy, and you're getting wealthier fast. And I just want to tell you, it's an honor. But you know, when I'm on the debate stage, debating one of these far-left radical Democrats, whoever it may be, and they start telling you what they're going to do for you, and you say, but we have the best numbers, every category that we've ever had. Hispanic Americans, excuse me, New Mexico as a whole. We have the best numbers. African Americans, the best numbers that we've ever had in the history of our country. Asian Americans, the best numbers that we've ever had in history. Women, the best numbers that we've had in 71 years.
Yeah, these numbers are off the wall. I mean, I'm sorry. If you would have told me that I would see something like this in my lifetime, I'd be like, oh, you're crazy. Stop it already. I mean, lowest record number of unemployment for African Americans in the history of this country, lowest number of unemployment for Hispanic Americans in the history of the country, Asian Americans, lowest number for women in 71 years. Those are insane numbers. And of course, you see all us racist Trump supporters in the back cheering on lowest African American unemployment, cheering on lowest Hispanic unemployment. All us racist Trump supporters all cheering for African Americans and Hispanics having low unemployment. I mean, the media is just missing it. I think they're running into the same problem they ran into in 2016. They're not out there in the country. They're in their studios in New York City, in Washington, D.C., and they're just talking to their same friends. They don't want to hear any debate. They don't want to hear any of the other issues. CNN isn't paying attention to the American people. MSNBC is not paying attention to the American people. They're just cheerleaders for the Democratic Party right now. And, and they're not doing the Democrats a great service either when they hold these debates and they don't press them on these serious issues. They don't press back on them. They don't do any pushback because they're keeping them inside their own bubble. And it sounds great to the Democratic partisans that are in the room, like when they say, oh, we're going to take your guns, and when Beto said we're going to take your AR-15 and stuff, blah, 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 we're going to take them by force if we have to. And you hear that crowd in that room all cheer, stand on their feet and cheer. Well, that's good, but those people in that room do not make up the American people. Okay, they don't make up a majority of the people who vote either. They just don't. So when they hear that, and the people on the stage are like, "Oh, look, the American people are behind me." No, stupid. Those people were handpicked by the Democratic National Committee, basically to go to show up at one of those debates. DNC puts it on, and they're the ones in charge of giving out those tickets. And so the Democratic congressmen, senators, field offices, other interest groups, they hand out tickets to their partisans to make sure there's not going to be any people in there yelling and screaming. Now, there were people yelling and screaming at Biden, but my guess is the other Democrats in the audience didn't care. I mean, in the field, because they were yelling about how Obama deported 3 million people. So those people can get in, but there wouldn't be any Trump people coming in, any Trump, people heckling him or anything like that, because those tickets are very well guarded. I've been to rallies in the past, political campaign rallies with small crowds, and those tickets are, to get near the front, those tickets are handed out very specially to make sure you don't get any hecklers in the front. So they're hearing the crowd and they're going, oh yeah, the American people are behind us. Well, they're not. And you better get out. If they're not going to get out, well, I hope they don't. I don't want to give any advice. I hope they don't get out in the field. I hope they don't see what's going on out there, because they are so against. They have no idea what's going on. You even have Eric Holder saying, "Hey, Dems, you're kind of going way afield here, and the American people are not behind you." Like Eric Holder's out in the field, and he's like, "Hey, you think I'm hearing this? You think you're hearing that crowd in the audience at the debate? Well, that's not America. You better freaking wake up and realize your positions are not in the mainstream whatsoever." Excuse me. So let's go and get back to President Trump here.
We're working night and day to deliver a future of limitless opportunity for our nation's Hispanic American citizens, including millions and millions of extraordinary Mexican Americans who enrich our society, strengthen our country, serve in our military, and contribute immensely to our shared American family. And I want to just tell you that Mexico is doing a great job for us on the border, and I want to thank the President of Mexico.
And I really liked how he gave a shout out to the President of Mexico, and well deserved. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, he's not really doing anything," and I remember hearing that when things were starting to when things were getting really bad in May, and they did that deal. But the numbers don't lie. I mean, interdictions right now are down 56% from May, 6%, and a lot of that has to do with not so much the troops he's going to talk about here in a few minutes, but the 27,000 troops. Albeit that is helping. That's like an intimidation factor more than anything. They're not really going around rounding people up that much, although they are arresting some. They show some they show some clips of that every once in a while, and they're like. They're holding a bunch of migrants down south, right on the Guatemalan border as well. I saw a video on that. Those people didn't look happy, and they won't give a temporary visa to go. Before they used to do, if you came across from like Guatemala, they give you a temporary 13-day visa, and the 13 days was just enough time to get you from like the border of Guatemala and Mexico up to the U.S. border. And they said, okay, we'll give you 13 days to get you across into the U.S., which kind of sucked for us, right? When they said, okay, if you don't get across in 13 days, then we're going to kick your ass out. So you got 13 days to make it to the U.S. border and get out. So, well, anyways, they got a bunch of migrants down there south. They're not giving them temporary visas. And the big deal, the big thing, which was bigger than the troops, was the deterrent factor of saying, okay, Mexico agreed to hold on to our asylum seeker people and to hold them in Mexico pending their hearings in the United States. That was huge, and the Supreme Court just upheld that. I covered that the other night, saying it's okay. Well, they upheld that a while back, and they just came up with a new ruling just last week, in fact, affirming that. So that's huge. And Mexico says, look, as long as they speak Spanish, but I guarantee they're doing some deal. They had a bunch of migrants in the south down there that didn't speak Spanish, and they're still holding on to them. So I'm sure there's some kind of deals we're doing right now with them, and fine. But he stepped up. Yeah, he stepped up under threat of tariffs. But sometimes you need he needed a stick probably because he needed some cover with his own people. But the big ranchers, the big manufacturers who put people like him, the president, in power, were like, hey man, screw the Central Americans, screw everybody else. We don't want any tariffs on our products because we are their largest importer of everything, okay? And thanks to the tariffs with China, trade has gone down with China, and guess where it's gone up? With Mexico. And so now Mexico is now our largest trading partner, followed by Canada, of all places, number 2, and then China, number 3. So everything's kind of working out. Look, if we're going to be trading with people and having to buy their goods, I'd rather everything be made in the United States, but I understand that, that's not completely realistic. But if we're going to be trading with people and buying their goods, I'd rather be from the people to the north and to the south of us, right next door on our borders. If we're going to build up somebody's economy, let's build up the people next door to us. I'd rather do that than build up somebody, literally 12,000 miles away in China, screw them, or Southeast Asia. No, the heck with that shit. So anyway, things are working out good right now, but the numbers don't lie. Down 56% since May. May was a high number, I get it, but still 56% decrease. And this most recent ruling by the Supreme Court, like I said when I covered it, that decision, we were covering it that night at 10 o'clock. It just came out that night. I guarantee when we were covering it, it was being covered by the local news agencies in Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, you name it, Nicaragua, everywhere, down to Central America, South America, you name it. So that the deterrent value is that people come across and they have to make their asylum pitch in Mexico first. That was a big ruling from last week, that not only can they stay there, but they have to make a pitch in Mexico to get asylum before they make an asylum claim in the United States. You have to, the first country you come to, period. So if you're in Honduras, you have to make your asylum claim in Guatemala, etc. So that's huge because people are like, well, shit, why do I want to wait in Mexico? I could have done that any time. I really was just trying to sneak into the United States with a phony asylum claim. Well, now they can't. And Supreme Court just upheld that. And let me tell you something about that Supreme Court decision. And I covered this the other night. That was a 7-2 decision. That was not a 5-4 decision. 2 of the liberal justices, Justice Kagan, appointed by President Obama, and Justice Stephen Breyer, I believe that was appointed by Bill Clinton, they both voted with the conservatives to uphold Trump's directive that if you don't seek asylum in the first country you come to, you cannot seek asylum inside the United States, which means we don't have to hold you, we don't have to detain you, we don't have any family separation issues, you're gone. You just bye, have a nice day, and worst case scenario, you have to wait in Mexico. Have a nice day there too. So that's huge. That Supreme Court decision, I guarantee, was covered big time that night all over Central and South America. So Trump's doing it right, and I know DA He promises a lot of things, but the mainstream media says, "Oh, he's a dictator." I mean, literally, I hear this. Okay, I hear this when I watch MSNBC and CNN, kind of like Mark Dye says. So you don't have to, but I don't do it just for that reason. I do because I want to hear what the other side is saying. Because I don't want to live in a bubble. I want to make sure my ideas are valid and strong, and then I want to have my ideas challenged. So when I watch those networks, they're still out there saying he's a dictator, he's a fascist, he's trying to take over. But we see the way he's operating. He's operating within the confines of our Constitution. We have checks and balances. You have three branches of the government, and he's operating within the bounds of that. And within one branch of government, you got two chambers. You got the House and the Senate. And the House right now belongs to the Democrats, so you can't get anything through without the Democrats agreeing. They're not. And when the Supreme Court, he's not a dictator. The Supreme Court tells him no. Guess what he does? He stops, and then he goes to court and he fights it, and then it takes a few minutes. Okay, again, the founding fathers, the way they set up this country was that things would move slowly. Now, if you want change and you want it quickly, maybe you need it quickly, it's very frustrating. I get it, but remember, we've been here for 230 years. No other Western country can say that they have the same form of government for the last 230 years. Only we can. That was the genius of the founding fathers. Things move and change slowly. When things move quickly and change quickly, that's how you end up in chaos and dictatorships, or even worse than that, anarchy. So, be patient. Ann Coulter's like, "Whoa, you're not doing enough." Well, he's working within the Constitution. I mean, I love the Constitution. And everybody who's read it, got to just admire how these guys came up with that document. It's beyond me. I could never thought of that stuff, especially, 1789? I mean, it was genius. But the founding fathers wanted things to change slowly. That was the whole reason for the checks and balances. They were afraid of quick change. So things take time. Now look where we are now. He's getting money slowly but surely for the wall. The Supreme Court upheld that. He was blocked by a U.S. District Court. That was upheld by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Supreme Court hears it. They say no. He can use the military money to build the wall. So he's working with the confines of the law. The Democrats say he's not. He's a dictator. Just the opposite. The court tells him no. He doesn't do it. So they subpoena some of his people. He says, no, take me to court. He goes to court. If the Supreme Court comes back and says those people have to appear, guess what? They're going to be appearing. Okay, so, it's easy to get impatient. Don't. Because, again, remember now, he's only been in office for 2.5 years. I mean, I want you to think about that concept for a second. It's only been 2.5 years. Okay, and think of all the things he's accomplished. First president I got to vote for was Ronald Reagan in 1984. Very proud of that fact. Okay, and Reagan fan, my whole adult life. But I'm saying right now, President Trump, best president I've seen in my lifetime. The best president. And yes, better than Ronald Reagan. Sorry, but he is. He's gotten a lot more done. He's doing a lot more. He is not a politician. I agree with you, DA. He is not a politician. And Reagan was. So Reagan was kind of constrained by that. Trump isn't, and he's not constrained by that. But he is definitely looking out for us. He's looking out for the working class and middle class people of America. And it's the first president I can honestly say had our interests in mind 100%. And for that, I salute him. So anyway, back to President Trump.
It's very interesting. I hear everybody screaming, well, we're building the wall, and it's going up, and it's going up there. And if you think that's easy, with the Democrats who control the House, we have to take it back. But if you think it's easy, but we're building a lot of wall, we'll have almost 500 miles of wall built by the end of next year, and it's making a big difference. 500 miles. But we won a big case 2 months ago in the Supreme Court that allowed us to do what we're doing. This has been, I'll tell you what, ready? Another president would have given up a long time ago. We don't give up. So we're building the wall. The Army Corps of Engineers, we're doing a beautiful job. It's a great structure. It's a great structure. You're going to have to really want to get over that wall to do it. But it was very interesting because not too long ago I saw where the Hispanic American, the Hispanics were up with me in a poll, 17%. And everyone said, how is that? How is that? How is that? 17%. Up by 70%. I won't even tell you what the final number was because they won't believe it. But you're going to see what the final number. But you know why? Because the Hispanic Americans, they understand they don't want criminals coming across the border. They don't want people taking their jobs. They want to have that security, and they want the wall. They want the wall. And we have a man in the audience who is, I think, the best dressed man in this entire place, including me, right here. Look at him. Come here. Look at him. Look at this guy. And he's been to a couple of rallies, too, haven't you, huh? We have some people, a group of people the other day. You know, we had a victory in North Carolina that was unbelievable, 2 of them. One of them, it was going to be very, very close. Here's another one of my friends. Thank you. I like that beautiful red tie you're wearing in a suit. But we had a victory, 2 victories, North Carolina, where one was 17 points down 3 weeks ago. We got involved. We started sending out lots of different social media messages. We did a couple of little robocalls, but the big thing, we did a speech the night before. The turnout was beyond belief. And instead of being down by 17 points, he easily won the election, 4,000 or 5,000 votes. Dan, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan Bishop. And Greg Murphy was up a couple of points, and he ended up winning. I don't know. I'd ask the media, but they won't give me. How many? What did he get? You know, like 20, 21? He won by a lot. He won by a lot. I'd ask them, but we're not going to get a straight answer. They were not happy. They were not happy.
I like how he goes after the mainstream media in the audience. It's like, oh, they were not happy. Oh, look at them. Oh, and everybody goes, boo. Yeah, when we were at the Trump rally for the midterms, and anytime he brought up the mainstream media, we're like, boo. And, like, I was standing, like, right in front of them. The little, you see, they got the mainstream media set up here. They don't really look like they have a very nice area there. It looks pretty tight. But anyway, that's pretty funny. But anyway, I was standing right in front of them, and like we'd all turn around and go, boo. I mean, everybody was goofing off. It was like nobody was threatening them or anything. And they were all just laughing and stuff. And we were like, boo, you suck, you suck. But yeah, it was pretty cool. But I like when he gets the crowd worked up. Anytime he mentions the media, it's like, boo. It's like, yeah, you know. But, yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, if you haven't been to a Trump rally, find one. You know, if you have to travel a couple 100 miles, it's worth it. You know, don't worry about sleeping. Just, get there super early so you can get in. You don't want to, if you have to wait outside, that's fine. But, being inside the room, it's really a cool thing. So definitely, if you got a Trump rally near you, like even a few 100 miles away, make the trip. They give out plenty of advance notice. So, just pay attention. You can go to their White House website or the Trump campaign RNC websites and stuff. You can see when the rallies. They have a schedule, like the next 3 rallies in a row. So anyway, yeah, definitely, if you can make it to a Trump rally, it's fun. Everybody there is really cool. Everybody's having a good time. It's a fun event. Like he says, like, oh, people, is there anything better than a Trump rally? And you're there, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's really cool. It's just a really nice, fun, exciting place to be. And you get your occasional hecklers and stuff, but, they get shooed away pretty fast, so it's pretty nice. But anyway, let's get back to the president. Here we go.
I'll tell you, Tuesday night, the fake news was not happy. They had their studios all built. CNN had their A-list talent. They don't have A-list talent, but they had the best they could have. And they were all set. This was going to be the end of Trump because this man was going to lose, but he turned out to be tough and smart. And in all fairness, I helped a lot too. And toward the end of the night, they started dismantling that studio. Probably would have been there for 4 weeks. This is the end. But we had 2 great victories, congressional victories, on Tuesday night, and it was something. The one gentleman won by a number that nobody thought even possible so much, and the other won a race that he was way, way, way back. In fact, I shouldn't tell you this, but my geniuses, my people, some of those people standing right there, right there. Some of them right there. They said, "Sir, don't get involved in that race, sir. You can't come back from 17 points, sir."
And that was really hilarious how he called out his own people. He pointed to them. They're all standing there. They have big grins on their face. Like, because, you know, he's probably telling the truth. They probably said, look, this guy's down 17 points. And if you go down there and you put your neck out, you know, and he loses, they're going to say, oh, see, Trump gave it his best, and he still lost. And he knew he was taking a risk. That was a big risk. This guy is now... He's not afraid to take risks and get egg on his face. And you'll hear him say that, like, I wasn't afraid of being embarrassed. He's not afraid of being embarrassed, getting egg on his face that was going to help the American people. Like when he went to North Korea to meet with Kim and cross the DMZ. That was not a given. He sent that off in a tweet saying, hey, I'm going to be in Korea. You know, I'd like to meet you at the DMZ. And that wasn't a given. I'll tell you what, it wasn't even a given until they saw Kim's car pulling up. Because remember, when he first got there, he didn't go right to the DMZ. Well, he went to the DMZ area, but he didn't go right to that little village there and, you know, by where the line is. They went to an outpost first. The reason why they did that, because Kim's car hadn't showed up yet. So they weren't 1,000% sure he was going to be there. So, I mean, potentially he was going to have a lot of egg on his face. And he was willing to do that for peace. He was willing to do that so our guys wouldn't have to go over there and get killed. So, you know, Kim wouldn't be bombing, you know, Tokyo or Seoul or, you know, putting us into a war. He's willing to stick his neck out for us. And I remember I covered it that night live. And, you know, I remember there were a few of you that were in the chat that night. You remember it was just amazing. I've never seen a president willing to stick his neck out, willing to get egg on his face, to get embarrassed, to be completely humiliated. Because if he hadn't shown up, it would have been a complete humiliation. Or Kim could have done even one better. He could have, like, pulled the car up, Trump would have walked into the line, and Kim could have got back in the car and drove away. Nobody knew for sure. That could have happened too. Then he would have had to make that long walk back to the press corps, kind of like when you were in middle school and you had to walk across the room to ask the girl to dance. And, you know, and then the big fear was, you know, you have to walk all the way across the floor to go ask her to dance. And if she said no, you got to walk all the way back to your friends and see them, you know, watch you being all dejected. You know, Trump took that risk, and he took it for us. So, you know, on this election in North Carolina with Dan Bishop, the guy was down a lot, and they said, look, if you go out there and you go all in and you lose, the media's going to say, he's going to lay it right at your doorstep. And for 3 days before that election, I was watching MSNBC and CNN, and that's what they were saying. They were saying, oh, this is going to be, you know, Trump's going to lose. He's going to look stupid. It's going to show that he can't carry the Republicans to the finish line. He can't help with downstate tickets. Yeah, Rocky, I totally agree. One tough New Yorker, totally agree on that one. You know, that's totally agree with you on that. So, you know, that's where he is, you know. So let's see. Hold on. Let me try to get you on there, Rocky. I'm going to try to put that comment up here. There we go. But yeah, I mean, he's just a tough guy, and he's not afraid to get embarrassed for us. And he wasn't afraid. He wanted that House seat bad for the Republicans because he knew it was important how it was going to shape the 2020 election. And again, he was willing to. Let me put this up here. Hold on, Rocky. There we go. And he was willing to risk his own name because if he went down there and that guy lost, which was a good chance Dan Bishop was going to lose that race in North Carolina, he went down there and lost, it would have been nothing but, like he said, CNN was building a big, you know, studio down there. And again, for 2-3 days before that race, man, they were saying, oh, this is going to be it. Trump's going to look bad, and he's going to show Trump's going to learn that the American people aren't with him. And then I was watching MSNBC that night too, and they refused to call it. It was like 90% of the vote was in, and pretty much everybody left voting but had to vote for the other guy. Everybody, in order for the race to change, because he was up by over a little 3,000 at that point, Bishop. And but then when they finally called it, they were all geared up for that. That's all they were covering the whole night, right? And they were all geared up for this result where Bishop was going to lose, McCready was going to win, the Democrat. And sure enough, then the result comes in, and right away they go, oh, well, here are the results, da-da-da, and they stop. They go, oh, let's talk about John Bolton, resigning. And the rest of the show was about John Bolton. And, they had the whole show lined up to talk about McCready winning. So they just had to cut to John Bolton. They brought some people in real fast. Oh, yeah, let's talk about national security. So, Trump's right about that. God bless him for sticking his neck out for us. He's done it more than once. And, that's okay in my book. Definitely okay. All right, back to the president.
That's too much. I said, but I really like the guy. I think he's great. Let's give it a shot. They say, sir, if you lose, they will never, ever, it'll be much worse. I said, let me tell you, I know them very well. Whether I help him or don't help him, it's going to be the same. It's going to be a disaster. So let's help him. And we campaigned and we worked hard, right? They said, don't do it, sir. Don't do it. Please don't do it, sir. It'll be very embarrassing. I said, no, I don't mind being embarrassed. I don't mind being embarrassed. We're also very proud that unemployment among Native Americans has reached the lowest rate in nearly 2 decades. And we're building an amazing future for citizens of every background, race, religion, color, and creed. And that's what we have. That's what we have. Race, religion, color, and creed. But the radical left Democrats want to demolish everything that we've gained. They want to raise your taxes. They want to bury you in regulation. They want to take away your health insurance, 180 million Americans. They want to erase American history, crush religious liberty, indoctrinate our students with left-wing ideology. And left-wing Democrats want to confiscate your guns and eliminate your God-given right to self-defense. You know that. As your president, I will never allow them to take away your liberty, your dignity, your Social Security. And I will never, ever allow them to take away your sacred right to keep and bear arms.
Yeah, and you can hear the crowd on that one. I mean, Beto O'Rourke, thank you, Beto O'Rourke. I mean, I almost felt like buying one of those guys' T-shirts again. I'd like to have the T-shirt to kind of troll it with, or to say, hey, look, this guy, they really are about taking our guns away. Because look, Beto made up those T-shirts, as a campaign fundraiser. But he just stuck it out there, and a lot of Democrats are mad, not because he said something that wasn't true, it's just that he spilled the beans. We've all been saying this for years. Look, this gun control thing, they're not about gun control. They're not about gun safety. They're about taking our guns away and the whole slippery slope thing. Back in the 80s, I was always a little leery of slippery slope arguments. But, over the last 30 years, I've seen that, yeah, these slippery slope arguments are true. So, Beto O'Rourke just laid it out there. He was desperate. He had to throw the long ball, and he says, "Okay, I'm just going to put out what our real position is. So maybe I'll get some hardcore Democrats to start backing me, get my numbers go up in the polls, get some more fundraising, and maybe I got a shot for VP or something." So thank you, Beto O'Rourke. Chris Coons was pissed off, senator from Maryland. A lot of people. Chris Murphy was pissed off. David Cicilline was pissed off, and they said it out loud. But yeah, if something can turn a blue state like New Mexico red, that gun control argument is definitely going to be it. A lot of people in New Mexico own firearms. I live where I live in Pahrump, Nevada. It's even the liberals own guns up here. Everybody I know owns firearms, whether you're liberal, conservative, whatever. And it's great for reducing crime in our town where we live, especially nighttime home invasion burglaries. We don't get those up here because the criminals know even those liberals, those leftists who live up there own firearms, have guns in the house. So that issue may be the big issue that will turn blue state like New Mexico, red. Now, like a state like California, no, but I mean they're just too far gone, and they're gonna vote against Trump no matter what. But I mean, a state like New Mexico that maybe could be in play, it got a good shot to be in play, and he's down there doing this rally. That's letting people in New Mexico, hey, join up, sign up, get involved. He brought his people down there. If you notice the people he talked about here, he's going to talk about the RNC, the chairman of the RNC is down there. Vice chairman of the RNC is down there with him on a rally. That doesn't happen a lot, but they're down there for a reason. They're down there to organize that state because they've been seeing some numbers, I'm sure, that says, hey, this state's in play. And that's why he's in New Mexico. I mean, he doesn't just go places, on the spur of the moment. This was strategic. And when you see the chairman of the RNC and the vice chairman of the RNC both with him at a rally, that's telling me something. That's telling me that they think this state's in play and there's a shot, and then the president makes this big rally down there in Rio Rancho, which is near Albuquerque. That's telling me a lot. The Republicans think New Mexico's in play, and this gun control thing may be that very thing. And you heard that was probably one of the loudest cheers all night was about the taking your guns away. As far as people like, I will never let them take away your right to keep and bear arms. That was a loud ass cheer. So there you go. And the nice thing about that is that should keep Texas red. A lot of people are afraid Texas may go blue, but that issue alone, I think, will keep Texas red as well. Yeah, even though they've suffered some from the mass shootings down there. So we'll see. But they must have something showing them that New Mexico's in play. For them to send Trump, to have Trump go down there, and for the RNC chairwoman to be down there too. New Mexico must be in play. All right, let's continue on with the president.
The left tries to threaten, bully, intimidate Americans into submission. They use Democrat prosecutors and phony congressional committees whenever they can. They'll do whatever they can to demean you, to libel you. They try to blacklist, coerce, cancel, or destroy anyone who gets in their way. Look at what they're doing today to Justice Kavanaugh. Look at what they're doing. Did you see the New York Times? Did you see what they're doing? Did you see what Democrats? They're calling for his resignation. They're calling for his impeachment. And the woman involved said she didn't know anything. She doesn't, but they still. So the New York Times had to put out a major apology. And they had to change their story. The woman said, I don't remember that. Okay, and they still want him to be impeached. And I just put out a statement, and he's a great man, by the way, great talent, a great, brilliant man, Brett Kavanaugh. And I just put out a statement on social media that said, I don't think they'll do it, but they should, for the good of the nation. I call for the resignation of everybody at the New York Times involved in the Kavanaugh smear story. And while you're at it, the Russian witch hunt hoax, which is just as phony a story. They've taken the old gray lady. Do you know the New York Times? For years, the old gray lady, so prestigious. They've taken the old great lady and broken her down, destroyed her virtue, and ruined her reputation. She can never recover and will never return to greatness under current management. The Times is dead. Long live the New York Times. Long live the New York Times. And I do want it to live, but they have to change their ways. Think of it. They wrote a story about somebody that said, she doesn't remember this. Can you even believe it? And yet, all of these radical left crazies on Judiciary Committee and all of these committees that are set up to hurt the country, with all that we have going, with Saudi Arabia, with Iran, with China, trade deal, with Russia, with North Korea, with all that we have going. Look at the cards that we've been dealt. Lucky we won the election in 2016, believe me. With all that we have going, They say, let's impeach Justice Kavanaugh, one of the smartest, most brilliant students, top at Yale, incredible life, incredible family. Let's impeach him. It's a made-up story. Let's impeach President Trump. Think of that. The Mueller report came out. Think of this. This crazy Mueller report comes out. 18 Trump haters, liberal Democrats, some worked for Hillary Clinton. They found nothing. Now think of it. After 2 years, they found nothing. They spent $40 million. There's not a person in the room that I couldn't find something on with that. They spent, think of it, they found nothing. No collusion, no obstruction, no nothing. To stop the far left's campaign of destruction, you must vote Republican, and you're going to get the chance very soon. We're joined tonight by many terrific Republican leaders, and somebody that's done an incredible job. She ran Michigan for me, and as you know, for the presidential races, Michigan hadn't been won in decades, and she kept saying, "Could you come back, sir?" I didn't know who she was. I said, "Who the heck is the woman in Michigan that keeps asking?" She said, "Sir, if you keep coming back, you're going to win Michigan. Hasn't been won in decades." And I won Michigan. Remember that great night? November. That great night. Donald Trump has won the great state of Michigan, and they were going crazy on television. That was not a good night for certain people. Remember the couple of people that were crying? I guess they don't like a strong military. They don't like cutting regulations. They don't like low taxes. They don't like right to try, right to try. All these things we've done. For the vets, we got choice. We got choice for the vets. Choice. Everybody said it was impossible. We've rebuilt our military. I told the story for the first time today. A general came into my office, and my first few weeks, you remember, it was a little dangerous out there. President Obama left us with a few beauties, right? And I said to this general, "You better be prepared, because this is looking like it could really be conflict." And he looked at me and he goes, "Sir, we have very little ammunition." I said, "Say it again." And I want to tell you, the words "very little" he didn't use, because it was less than that. And I said, "I never want to see a president in a position like that, where we may have conflict, and a general looks at him and said, 'We have very little / no ammunition.' I never want a president of the United States to be in that position." And since then, 3 years, $700 billion we've spent, then $716 billion, and now $738 billion. And our military is by far the greatest in the world. There's nobody that even comes close. So anyway.
Yeah, that was he's the first time he ever told that story when, he's talking to that general. He didn't mention the general's name, and he says, "Hey, we got some pretty heavy duty stuff going on out there. You might have to get ready for something, unfortunately." And the general turns to him like, "We don't have any ammunition to carry on an extensive campaign anywhere." And I mean, that's pretty insane. And he's like what he said. He's like, "Can you say that again for me, please?" Like, okay? Because under President Obama, he pretty much gutted the military, and the sequestration is a deal he worked out. I mean, guys were pirating parts off of planes just so they can get a couple of planes in the air. There were there were whole squadrons that couldn't even go up in the air. Those planes require a lot of maintenance, helicopters too, and require parts to be changed out often because they're so high tech. And there were whole squadrons that couldn't go airborne. They didn't have the money for the parts or anything. We were in a really sad state of affairs. I mean, if we had to go anywhere and do something, we weren't going to be able to do it. Not in any kind of large numbers. So he's like, "Oh, the hell with this," and that's he increased the military budget largest. The first budget was the largest ever in history, and then the second was larger than that. And this last one, he's saying about 738 billion. But it was like, "Oh, that's like large." Well, it's large because he had to rebuild the place. I mean, there were literally helicopter squadrons, Apache helicopter squadrons, supply helicopters. They couldn't go airborne, couldn't get in the air. Fighter jets, bomber jets couldn't get airborne. They didn't have the parts. They were pirating parts, from planes just so they get a couple of planes out of one squadron to be able to be ready. I mean, it was disgusting. And if we had to go anywhere, anytime, any place, our guys, and if he had to send somebody in there, they're going to have to go in without. It sounds like without enough ammunition or enough supplies to really get the job done. They have to be bringing up some old weapons with the old ammunition they got stored up in places like in Nevada and stuff, stuff from World War II era stuff. But, I mean, just crazy, insane a situation we were in. And, again, thank God he got elected, and thank God he turned that around. So, you don't want to have to use the military. He's totally anti-intervention, which I'm totally cool with. I don't think we should be being the policemen of the world. I mean, we shouldn't be paying in our blood and our treasure. Let somebody else pay in their blood and their treasure. Thank you very much. I'm glad he's got the Europeans paying their fair share now. Well, they're coming up to speed, but, he laid down the law on them, which is excellent. So, he's out there doing it. He's getting it done. So, hats off again. So, here we go. Let's continue on with the president.
No president should ever be put in that position. And by the way, no president should ever have to go through what I've gone through either. That should never happen. What happened is a disgrace to our country. No president should ever have to go through it. And I'll tell you what, 99% of them would never have been able to take it. They wouldn't have been able to take it. But we won the great state of Michigan, and now we're doing really well because we've moved a lot of car companies. I tell Japan, sorry, big deficits with all these countries. We're changing it, but you got to get car companies. We're building car companies now in Michigan. They're not going to be leaving for lots of other countries, including China, including Mexico. They're going to stay home, and they're going to pay you a lot of money, and everybody's going to be happy. But Michigan's doing great. And Ronna McDaniel was the Republican Party chair of Michigan. So when we won the election, I said, let's get the woman from Michigan to run the RNC. And she has done an incredible job. Thank you, Ronna. A great gentleman who loves the Republican Party, co-chairman Tommy Hicks. Tommy, what a job.
And you see that's what I was talking about earlier. I mean, the Republican chairman and co-chairman are down there with him in New Mexico at the rally. I mean, they're down there just more than just watch him give a speech. They're down there meeting with people, talking to local Republican Party leaders down there, talking to the state party leaders, local county party. They're going to be down there probably after he leaves. They probably got down there before he got there, and probably going to be there when he leaves. They're down there talking to people. They're saying, "Hey, we think we're in play." And they must have been getting some word from people on the ground, too, saying, hey, I think we're in play. And especially just timing is crazy. Timing is everything. They're down there right after that whole Beto thing from last Thursday with taking your guns. So they must be seeing something, and that's just good news for us. So, again, the chairman and the coach, usually somebody stays at home, but they're both down there because they're probably splitting up the meetings and stuff with the state, saying, okay, what do you guys need from us? Because right now the RNC is like cash rich. The DNC's in debt. RNC is cash rich. They got money. Trump's campaign's got money. The RNC's got money, and they're sitting there saying, hey, we got a state that's in play that we can grab. I can't remember how many electoral votes are in New Mexico. I want to say Oh God, 4, 6. See, Nevada, we're 6. So maybe, well, I guess I could look it up. Well, hey, let's take a look at the old Google machine here. Let's see. So what do we got here? Okay. Well, let's see. How about New Mexico? Let's see. New Mexico. Shit. God damn it. New Mexico. Oh, 5. Only has 5, but still, five is a number. So hey, 5 is 5. You pick up 5. That's 5. You have to pick up someplace else, and it might be a tight election. So hey, we'll take all that we can get. So, but again, they're down there because they think it's in play, and they're making their moves while they're down there. So anyway, let's go back and take a listen to the president again. Here we go.
New Mexico Republican Party Chairman Steve Pearce. My friend and a really talented guy, he just gets the hell knocked out of him all the time. Brad Parscale, what a job he's doing. Brad, great job, Brad. Great job. And another great friend of mine, somebody that was on CNN and they didn't like him because he was too positive on Trump. Can you believe it? He happens to be Hispanic. He happens to be Hispanic, but I've never quite figured it out because he looks more like a wasp than I do. So I haven't figured that one out. But I'll tell you what, there is nobody that loves this country more or Hispanic more than Steve Cortez. Steve. Thank you, Steve. Nobody loves the Hispanics more. What do you like more, the country or the Hispanics? He says the country. I don't know. I may have to go for the Hispanics, to be honest with you. We got a lot of Hispanics. We love our Hispanics. Get out and vote. Just before the last election, the Cubans from Miami, where we got a tremendous percentage of the vote, close to 90%, they gave me the Bay of Pigs Award. Can you imagine, right? The Bay of Pigs Award. And the Venezuelans and the Cubans are all for Trump. I will tell you that. They're all for Trump. They like what we're doing. With the help of, and Steve, I want to thank you very much, by the way. And you were incredible on CNN, and now you'll get a real job, okay? Steve, that audience wasn't big enough for you. Their ratings aren't good. With the help of everyone here tonight, we're taking power out of Washington and giving it back to the great people of our country and to the people of New Mexico. We've cut a record number of job-killing regulations, saving the average American household $3,000. We passed the largest package of tax cuts and reforms in American history. And what that means is a typical family of 4 in New Mexico making $75,000 has seen their tax bill reduced by more than $2,000. And it's one of the reasons that as the world is not doing great, you look at Europe and you look at Asia, and China's not doing too well, must be honest with you. Worst year in 57 years, I'd say that's not good. But I hope they still like me. And we've taken in tens of billions of dollars worth of tariffs. And we've given those tariffs, and by the way, China's eating the tariffs. They're devaluing their currency. The prices are very similar. They're eating the tariffs. And out of the tens of billions, we gave our great farmers because they were targeted by China. Because China knows, very smart, that the farmers love Trump and Trump loves the farmers. I said to our Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue, I said, Sonny, how much did the farmers get hit by China targeting them and pulling back and doing all sorts of things? He said, $16 billion. I said, that's okay. We'll take $16 billion out of a much, much, much larger number. We're going to give it to the farmers so that they're even. And I tell you, the farmers do love Trump. They do love Trump. And to keep New Mexico's farms, ranches, and small businesses in the family, we eliminated the unfair estate tax or death tax so that you can now give your farm or your ranch to your children. Now, if you don't like your children, don't do it. But when it's your time to kick the bucket, you worked hard, you have great kids, you love your kids, they're taking care of you, you really love them, it's a great thing. If you don't love them, don't even listen to the last line because it won't matter. Don't leave it to them. If they're not good, leave it to charity, leave it to something else, don't give it to them. I know a guy can't stand his children. They're horrible, horrible human beings. They're a little older now, but they're horrible human beings. He wants to leave his wealth. I said, why would you leave them? They don't even like you. But on the assumption that you love your children, you'll be able to use small farms and your ranches and things. You'll be able to leave them to your children. Your children won't have to go out and borrow a fortune to pay tax. They won't be losing it to the banks 5 years later. We got rid of it. That's a big deal. Thank you. Thank you. Our shared Republican agenda is pro-worker, pro-jobs, pro-family, pro-growth, and 100% pro-American. For many decades, our leaders put global interests and special interests ahead of your interests. You know that. In New Mexico, you know exactly what I'm talking about. People came in, they took your jobs, they had no border, they had no border control. Look at what's going on now, how we're doing. I mean, honestly, I mentioned the president of Mexico. We have today 27,000 Mexican soldiers on the border protecting our country, and I'll take it. Because our laws are so bad, they're so pathetic. And the Democrats could change these laws. They could change them so quickly. We could change them all in less than an hour. We could, whether it's asylum, whether it's any of the laws, we have so many of them that are so bad.
Yeah, it's a real shame that we have a foreign country doing more for us, and it's not in their interest necessarily to do this for us, to let you know. And the president of Mexico, like, you know, like how Trump catches shit for stuff, you know, President of Mexico caught some shit from his own media and from some of his own people for agreeing to have his troops out there and to agree to take in the asylum seekers to let them stay in Mexico. He caught some shit for that president. Okay, that was not like, oh, I'll just do it. No, he caught some shit. Okay, and he did it anyway. And it's a shame that we got the president of a foreign country, to wit Mexico, doing more for us than the Democrats are doing for us. I mean, that's just insane. I mean, a foreign country is doing more for us than Democrats in our own country, than Americans in our own country are doing for us. The party leadership should be completely ashamed of themselves that a foreign country is actually showing them up. And you never hear the mainstream media talk too much about what Mexico is doing for us. They bury that story. They bury that story because, boy, they sure don't want that narrative out there. That, you know, the Mexicans are on our side on this one, or actually on Trump's side. That would really kill them. You know, they did a story like, oh yeah, you know, they did a story. Yeah, the Mexicans are cooperating with Trump. They're helping Trump out with the illegal immigration problem. You never hear that story on MSNBC. I mean, they have all these hours per day to cover news stories. They never cover that. So it's just amazing. Again, and again, this was not an easy decision for the president of Mexico to make. It's not in his best interest necessarily to be doing it. and he did it anyway. I mean, he had to get threatened with those tariffs. Yes, I understand, but he caught some political shit for that down south. And his media gave him a lot of shit too, and so hey, hats off to him. That was awesome. So, all right, guys, let me get back to President Trump.
How they got that, it took years and years to end up. But we have the Mexican soldiers out there. You see them, and they're stopping people. The numbers are plummeting down. So I just want to thank all of the representatives of Mexico. Amazing. But we got to get rid of the loopholes. The word is loopholes. And the Democrats could do it fast, but in the meantime, we're doing really well. And as the wall goes up, it becomes less and less of a problem. Because as the wall gets up, people aren't getting through. I mean, you got to be a world-class pole vaulter or a world-class Mount Everest-type climber. There's not too many around like that. It's really doing the trick. The failed liberal establishment in Washington squandered your tax dollars, shipped away your jobs, sacrificed your sovereignty, and bogged us down in one foreign war or debacle, call it whatever you want, after another. And that's changing also. You see what's happening. And when these rich countries think we're going to pay for their military every year, billions and billions and billions, and they're rich and they take our business and we're supposed to, on top of everything else, I could tell you stories, but I'm going to save them for the campaign. Because to be honest, this is a little earlier than the campaign. Wait till this campaign starts. Like I was telling Brad and I was telling a few of the folks, one thing I don't want to do, Michael back there, Michael, hello, Mike, what a job he's done. But I'm telling them, I don't want to do this too early. I don't want to do it. The Pocahontas thing, I did that, it was before its time. Right? It was before its time. Too early. 1024th. That means I have more Indian blood than she does, and I have none. Unfortunately. I'd like to say I have a lot. That'll get me another 4%, maybe another 10%. But I was early with her, and frankly, it's coming back. Don't worry about it. But those days are over. Under this administration, we are finally putting America first. Putting it first. We're reversing decades of calamitous trade policies that ravished our industries and devastated communities all across our land. You see the factories, empty buildings, empty hulks. Some have been demolished, some have been reconverted into senior citizen housing, but all those jobs are gone, and we're bringing them back. They're coming back like almost never before. Probably I can say they're coming back like never before.
All righty. So, that was really, really cool. And let me get on here. Let me see here. Let me find, where am I on the screen here? There I am. All right, let's go ahead and cut it here. Boom. Hey, let me cut this off here. So, anyway, I want to thank, we're going to go and cut off the live stream for tonight. I've been on for about an hour and a half, and that was an excellent rally. I want to thank everybody that's been in the chat tonight. Excellent chat conversations. Posting a lot of them up there for you guys. And definitely want everybody to see them. There was some really good comments there in the chat room tonight. Really, really happy. And, President Trump, great job at the rally. Fantastic. Got the crowd really energized. Again, New Mexico looks like it's in play. Trump is there. Chairwoman of the RNC is there. The vice chairman is there. They're making their moves, and they got the money to make the moves. So they're probably meeting with the state. state Republican Party officials. They're also meeting with the local county officials and seeing what say what do you guys need? What do you need from us? And just when I was in Nye County back in 16, the state guys came down. They came down with that little app for your cell phone, which gives you like locations of voters and stuff, people you need to talk to. And again, you don't walk down the street and knock on everybody's door. That's not how you do it anymore. Okay, Obama taught us that in 2008. You target certain people on the street. So maybe in a block you have 20 people living on a block. There's like 4 people you need to target. So you only target those 4, and then you go on to the next block, and there's like maybe 6 on that block and stuff like that. So they're down there right now making some moves, and I'm sure the Dems are like, oh shit, now we gotta defend New Mexico. That's going to stretch them out. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of money right now. We do, they don't. So there you go. But yeah, thanks. God bless you guys too, and God bless Crazy Chick and Arena and everybody there. And so anyway, for Carl's opinion, this is Carl. Let me get back to the right screen here. There we go. And have a great night, and we'll see you on the next live stream. Have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.